Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'm going to show you how to make this interactive card. Okay, what happens is the butterfly moves up and down as do the beads. The idea for this card is entirely thanks to Jennifer Maguire. I will put a link to her video in the box below because she also shows two other cards. One of them is where she's put an extra line of beads there and there, and the third card is a shaker card with a butterfly in it, but as you shake the card the butterfly won't twist upside down. It's a very, very clever idea. So I do say, do check out the video. Her cards are just absolutely superb. So I've got lots of hints and tips to share with you today. The first one that I want to share with you on this card, as you can see, I have got some red pearls there, and I can't remember the name of the actual white ones. I think they were, oh, here we go, iridescent pearls, basic jewels. It was these, and I painted them with a red, real red stamping blend. And what I do is, when I've finished with my stamping blends, because the brushes go really funny, I keep them in this box, and then when I want to paint gems like this, rather than using my new ones that have got really good brushes on, I just go to my box and I find, like this one, the brush is past its best. Don't know if you can see that. Yes, you can. But it's ideal for painting these. So I don't throw any of mine away. As you can see, I've got quite a few there. Okay, so that's one tip for you. That works for Stampin' Up blends, and I don't see why it wouldn't work for all alcohol markers. Right, so there's that card. This has been a bit of a journey getting to this card. My first one is this one, and I used this because I wanted to use the elephant. I think it's such a cute little stamp. Okay, but I wouldn't make this design card for a child, because if the this is string, actually it's called crystal string that I've used. If it comes unattached and a child could choke on these beads, okay, but I did that because I just wanted to use that stamp. I also tried with a larger stamp card, which meant a larger butterfly. Okay, so this is a 7x5. This is our standard size, so that works as well. On this one, I thought that I preferred to have the main design on the outside and the smaller design on the inside, and then I tried it on another smaller card, but then I decided I didn't like that either. So, okay, so that one goes up and down nicely. So they were all the cards that I've made. The card that I'm going to make with you now is going to be this size. I will put the measurements in inches and metric for A4 cardstock users in the box below, and also inches for US who use letter size cardstock. That will be in the box below. I will also put the measurements for this 7x5 card. Now, inches are for A4 and letter size cardstock users, but I will also put the metric. Okay, all of them will be in the box below. So let me tell you the card pieces that we're going to be needing for today's card. What was that? Oh, did you hear that? Right, okay, we're going to start off with a card base in paper size, which measures 8 1/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches, scored and folded at 4 1/8. Then we are going to have a piece of Designer Series paper, which is Wash in Beauty, and this is the one that's going to be used for what I'm calling the butterfly background, that one there. And this needs to be 3 5/8 inches by 5 1/4 inches. Now that could be a bit smaller, but I'm going to explain to you when we get to that bit. Then you need 2 pieces of basic white, and these are for middle layers inside the card and for the front of the card, and these should measure 3 7/8 inches by 5 1/2 inches. And then you need, this is from Happy Forest Friends, and the designer series paper measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 3/8. Now this is the one I'm cutting the window out of. This was a card that proved to me that I didn't have to have the busiest design on the outside. Okay, so it's been very much a trial and error, this one. And you also need a paper pizzazz layer, top layer, which measures 3 3/4 inches by 5 3/8 inches to go on the inside of the card. You also need some scraps for the sentiment. Now I bought those lot over. Why? I'm not quite sure. In fact, I should have bought a bigger piece over for that. I'll have to reach over for that in a moment. But you also need your butterflies. You need one for the inside, one for the up and down thingy, and I seem to have lost one. I should have a plain white one here somewhere, which seems to have gone walkabouts, which is just about the way things are going for me at the moment. But we will not panic. I have one here that I can use. It's not particularly good, but it will work. So let me just get that extra piece of basic white for my sentiment. Hopefully that other butterfly would... Oh, here he is. Yes, I knew he would turn up. Okay, so you need a plain white one as well. Okay, so that's for the up and down, the interactive bit, and that's for the inside of the card. Right. If you use this design, when you cut this sheet, be careful, because on the other side of it is this design. Now usually when Stampin' Up do this, that design appears up the other side, but on this one it doesn't. The trees go all the way up to the top. Okay, now I took care about this because I have an idea for using this one. So if you want this piece, do the slice across the middle first and then take your piece out of it. Alright, so what it meant was putting it in and putting your, was that 5 and that's 5 3/8 across there. Okay, so 5 3/8. So that's another tip for you. Right, I've already adhered that together because I'm going to die cut that using my wonderful new magnetic plate to go with my cut and emboss machine, which I'm really excited about. I've been using it like crazy over the last 2 days and I am so pleased with it. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to adhere this onto here, and the reason I've done it this way round rather than adhering this one with you is because I want the glue in there to dry. But I want to show you how I put the glue on this bit. As you know, I normally just do a light bit of gluing on the 4 sides. Okay, normally I would say, right, that's it, that's enough. But because I'm going to be die cutting a window from here and I don't want any gaps, what I did was I did just some light little squiggles like that and some light squiggles like that. Then I know that that would be adhered enough. Okay, so that's that piece on there. That's the background for my butterfly. Now the reason, you could cut this a bit shorter, but I just found it easier knowing I've got the same gap all around there. It's 1/8 of an inch shorter than all this bit, so I know it's not going to be seen. Also, if I make this a bit lower than I'd planned to, then if I'd cut that short I might finish up with it with the paper pizzazz visible. Okay, so for the sake of not wasting more than is necessary, if I make a mistake, I'd rather do it this way. I'm also going to just adhere this inside the card. I have made a butterfly that will I would just adhere on here. If you prefer to stamp your butterfly on and then colour on the coloured cardstock, which does work. Obviously you can do yours the other way round. Do your image first and then do this. Okay, while I'm here I might as well add my butterfly on. One of these is more orangey. I'm going to have the orangey one, I think, for my, which one looks best? Yes, I think I want my orangey one more on the front there. Now with this card you need something like some seed beads, which are the beads I've been using. There are a couple of alternatives that you could use, which I will explain to you in a little while. So that's that, that's that, that's the one we've got to work on. And before I do that, I'm going to stamp my sentiment so that I can die cut that as well. And the sentiment that I am using is no one deserves a happier birthday than you, which I think is one of the nicest sentiments we've had for a very long time. And that comes from the Flowering Tulips stamp set. Okay, that one there. It's got quite some nice, actually. Love you so much. That's Happy Mother's Day too. I don't know, has Mother's Day gone? I don't know, I lose track with that one. I don't think yet. Yes, it must have done, yes. Right, so what colour shall I do this? I think I will use Old Olive. Of course I've blocked up. Now that I have my cut and emboss, it's right in front of my stamps. So if I don't think about it beforehand, it's a little bit of a struggle. In fact, let me get Paper Pizzazz out as well, just in case I decide I don't like Paper Pizzazz. Old Olive rather. I'm going for Old Olive because it's a bit darker, and there's light and dark on here. So stamp set, and I didn't get myself a scrap of paper either. Honestly, you would not believe the problems I've had trying to get a video for this week. I had 2 fancy fold cards I was going to do, and the first one, although it worked beautifully, when it stood on the shelf you saw all the workings of the folds, and I know that that wouldn't be very popular. It's one of the most, there were about 3 questions that I often get asked, and that is, does it stand on the shelf, does it fold to go in an envelope, and what size envelope would you need for that? Okay, so I'm very aware that what it appears on the shelf is important. I mean, it matters to me as well. There we go, that's good. I'm happy with that. So let's move that out of the way. That's the only stamping we have to do. Let's move that up there. So that's going to be a die cut. Now the dies I'm using, in fact I'll run through the dies now. That is going to be done. This is Stylish Shapes. These are a new set of dies, and they are a standalone set of dies. They don't have a matching stamp set with them. So these are, I could have done using better colours, couldn't I? Let me just take that out of the bag. These are supposed to be tired colours, but you see how they layer. What you can't see from there is, although that's got dots on the inside of the die cut, on the outside it's got little stitches. So when I die cut this, on the outside it's going to have little stitches around it. Okay, so I'm using number 4, that's the largest, and I'm using the largest of the long, not the short ones but the long ones. Okay, so that's the number 2. That's going to be for my sentiment. I will also show you the butterflies that I'm using. I've shown you that. These will all be listed in the box below my video with the measurements. This is the stamp that I've used. It is one complete stamp, and there is one complete die to die cut it, which is this. Okay, also with this set you get these fancy dies as well, and the reason I'm mentioning that is because instead of doing the stamping and the colouring, what you could do is you could just die cut a plain white one and then adhere that on and use that for the slider. Okay, I think that would look nice in, if it's done in gold or something, if that blends in with your design series paper. So that was another idea for you. So I think that's all the stamp sets and everything I'm using. So let me show you the new magnetic plate for the cut and emboss. I have to admit, it had really gathered an amazing amount of dust sitting waiting for this magnetic plate to arrive. Oh, got another little butterfly there, look. There we go, gold one. Right, okay, now when you buy a magnetic plate, and I have to say it is very heavy. I didn't measure, it didn't weigh in, I don't know the conversion, but I do know it weighs just under 800 grams, which if you're in the UK, that means it's a parcel if you wanted to post it anywhere. But the leaflet that you get with this, that I haven't brought over with me, that explains you what the sandwich is, it says that you need number 1, it says you need number 2, which is the thin one, it says you need number 5, and it says you need number 3, and I'm not sure why I haven't got numbers on these, but never mind. But that is wrong. What you need is 1, 5 and 3. You don't need this thin one. Okay, so pop that back. Okay, so that's all you need. Don't need that one either. Stampin' Up! Do realise that this is an error, and they have put a correct flyer on the Demonstrator website, so if you want a correct one, please ask the person that you purchased your magnetic plate from, ask her if she can get a copy for you. If you're one of my customers, I'd be delighted to get a copy for you, or you might just want to cross out the number 2 on the sheet that you get with it. Eventually the sheets will come through, but obviously Stampin' Up! Need to wait until the ones that are already sealed have been sold. So there was that. Now I have to say I am very, very pleased with the cutting mat. This surface is a self-healing surface, but eventually it will wear out, it will need replacing. This side is a metallic metal side to it, but it works a treat. Now I'm going to show you 2 different sorts of die cutting. Now the first I'm doing is the sentiment. I'm just going to position that, hopefully it's straight, it's about the same distance either end. It would be if that wasn't curly, that letter B. Now this I haven't tried. That's the first time I've lifted it up to make sure it works. That looks better. Okay, and then I'll put my cutting mat on top. And I should have left this, moved this a bit further over so that I don't crash into my tripod. Now one thing I do find is quite often the actual die cut, it will either come up on attached to this one, or it will stay attached to the magnetic plate, which it has done there. Okay, and I just use my piercing tool to lift that up. Okay, so that cuts beautifully, no problems there whatsoever, and it stayed where it was. Now this one, let me just double check, I did use number 3, number 4 rather, yes I did. Let me bring this up, don't know if you can see the stitching on this one. Yes, you can. Okay, all the other cards, before I started using these dies, all the other cards I made a layer to go around them. For example, this I used our new deckled rectangle dies, so I did that. I used a smaller die to do the cut, and then I did that one to do the frame on it, and all the others have got frames around. Right, now this one. Now I am just eyeballing this, and I am looking at it so that hopefully those three are about the same, and hopefully it is straight. I think that's right. So I'm going to put my plate number 3 on there, and on this one, because I am cutting through 2 layers, one sheet of designer series paper and one piece of cardstock, I'm putting a shim on here, which is a sheet of computer paper that I'm recycling. Okay, now this is going to be a bit stiffer, obviously. In fact, maybe quite a bit stiffer, but it goes. Methinks, yep. There we go. My computer paper is 100 GSM, which is quite a bit thicker than what it needs to be. You might find that yours is 80 or 70, which would go through a lot easier than mine is just done. But I use mine for sending out newsletters and things like that, so... Right, now that comes off. Let me show you how that cuts. Dots on one side, stitching on the other side. Okay, and that will pop out nicely. Oh, crikey, I left that on the back there. Oh, that would have made it a bit thicker as well, wouldn't it? Right. So let me move the 2 dies out of the way, and I don't need my cut and emboss anymore. So let's move the plates over there. Back to practicing how to close this without allowing the 2 platforms to bang together, bang up against rather. Now, what I have done with mine, it is a lot better to use foam sheets on the back here rather than dimensionals. It gives you a nicer look sideways when it's all complete, and it also makes life so much easier. Now we sell these foam adhesive sheets. Okay, you get 6 in a packet, and they are brilliant. Now what I had done ahead of time, just to show you how good this is, because I've already done a smaller card, I've been able to work out how many pieces I need. Okay, so I know that is going to go on there. It may need a bit of trimming if I've bought this a bit lower than the last one was. And that goes there, and that goes there. Okay, no messing about with, you know, loads and loads of pieces to go on here. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these pieces, and let me just double check this. I'm going to pick it up to make sure it works. Okay, that's a little bit close for my liking. This is obviously bigger than the previous one. Does that matter? I've got to get that spot on if I'm going to get away with that. So let me just cut a small slither off. Now I will save this small slither because I will cut it into pieces and use it as small dimensionals. Now that should do a lot better. And I will put the measurements of what I have cut on in the box below, so if you want to do this ahead of time you can. It would be a guide for you. There we go, that's a lot better. So I am only going to take off one side so that I can pop it on here. Let's do it from this way. There we go, that's good. Okay, so I've got gaps all the way around here. I'm happy with that. Bit of a gap there. Now this one should go across the top. Okay, let's take that one off. I like to use tweezers because it gives me a better judge of lining these things up rather than having my fingers in the way. There we go, there's that one. This may not fit in. Yes, it does. Now, if it bothers you that there's a gap between here, then you could push one right up to the top and just fill that in with little slithers. Which I would do if I wasn't making a video. Right, now I'm not going to take those bits off, not yet. To prepare for my butterfly, okay, so I've got the one for up and down, and I've also got a plain one because we are going to sandwich the beads in between. So what you need is a plain white one. As you can see, I've already put some self-adhesive tape on the back of it. I'm now going to put self-adhesive tape on the back of this one, and the first piece you need is to go from top to bottom, and it's best if you start off with a straight end and not a slanted one where maybe you cut it slanted for your last project. Okay, so that has gone really from top to bottom. I'm now going to add some pieces on the wings. Now what you need is you need the self-adhesive tape on the back of the butterfly that you have painted, and you need it on the front of the plain white or whatever colour you're using, cardstock. That is assuming that your butterflies are not symmetrical, and I know these aren't, so you need them to both be facing the right way so they fit each other. Now I'm not overlapping this tape. There we go. Just give it a little rub down so that when I'm ready to take it off, it's good. Okay, so those two pieces are ready. Now my beads, this is a bit of an experiment again. The beads I've used for the other cards have all been little seed beads, which are these very small beads. Okay, and now on this one I am using little tube type beads. Okay, I don't see why they won't work. They're not ridged, so as long as they roll, that should be fine. Now if you don't have beads, one thing you can use is very thin straws, or another thing is, now I've borrowed this from hubby, this is a butane duster, which is one of those things where you use, it's an air spray which you use to clean keyboards and things, and the tube fits in there and it gets the air to go into close places, so that would be absolutely brilliant to use. Right, so ask your hubby if he's got anything like that, or maybe you've got one to clean. I use that also, or at least he uses it to clean my the cutting track on my trimmer. It works brilliantly, it really does. Right, now to decide how many beads you need or how long you need, the beads will decide how much of a wiggle up and down your butterflies are going to have. Now that's obviously too much, there's not going to be any movement on that at all. So I'm going to move, let's say 4 out of the way. I'm not cutting this from my, oh that's still not enough. Let's move a few more down. Okay, so now that would mean your butterfly would be able to move. Let's see how I can do this. get that bit out of the way. So your butterfly would move from here up to there, which isn't much movement, is it? Okay, let's try moving 2 more out of the way. Equally, you need to leave enough so that your butterfly is going to move. Okay, so I'm going to take it like that, which is 2, 4, 9 beads. Now I'm not going to unravel the others, they can stay up there. Now this string that I'm using, okay, it's almost invisible, is called what does that say? Crystal string, and I bought it at a craft show, and I think it's what they use for making necklaces. And I have heard somebody say that it also works if you use fishing line as well. But anything that's see-through like this, I'm just going to anchor that down there, and I am going to anchor this down here. Let's pull that through a little bit, don't want to waste too much. There we go, that should be good. Okay, now take your first white butterfly and remove all these backings. Yeah, the first card I didn't like the way it looked when it stood on the shelf, so I dismissed that one. The next one, it didn't fold flat. Both of these actually, I had a lady in mind who'd asked me if I could make, I can't remember what card it was, I'll put the reference, I'll refer you to an earlier video that I made, but it's one where it opens up that way and then you've got these 4 letters that twist and open sideways, and a lady asked me if I was able to do a card where the card opened that way with these things opening up, and both of these cards did, and I was really chuffed when I found it. But I didn't like what they looked like on the shelf. The second one didn't stand up, you had to lay down, and the 2 bits in the middle just really stood up. Right, what I'm doing here is I'm lining my thread up on the lines on my grid paper here. Now that is going to help me to put this butterfly underneath, and I want to line it up so it goes right down the centre of my double-sided tape, so one side comes out there and one side lines up with that, and one side lines up with that. So I'm going to gently lift this up, slide that under, make sure it's in position. One of the beads that I tried using for the black and red card, the bead wouldn't go onto my thread, so I threw it away. And I do think that sometimes maybe these beads, the hole isn't quite wide enough for this to slide up and down easily. Right, now that I've done that one, I am going to take the, oops, careful, take the backing off of these pieces of double-sided tape. Okay. I really worked on trying to make this as easy as possible and without too much fiddling. Obviously the biggest problem is, you know, there is so much that is double-sided and very sticky. Right, so what I'm going to do now is line this up on top. And press the two sides down so that they adhere together. So this is what is going to make our butterfly slide. Alright, let's pull that through a bit. Okay, so that moves really nice and easily. In fact, that moves better than the small seed beads. I wonder if those get bigger holes in them, because it must be the holes that decides how easily they move. Right, now something else that I found is if you're using this, if you've got a small craft knife, cut that paper about halfway, in fact a bit short of halfway, so that you can just open it up without, you want to get to that little bit of foam inside. Okay, it's cut it in one place and it's opening in another, but that's okay. Okay, I don't want to take this right off while I'm working on my butterfly, so now I need to do this bit as well. And I don't want to, the reason I'm saying go over halfway is because I want my butterfly in the halfway, but I don't want, if I go too hard with my knife and I go right the way through the foam, it doesn't matter, except if I do that where my butterfly needs to go, and the ribbon might, the crystal string may decide to fall down that little channel that I've just cut. I think I've cut through there. You don't need to do this, you could just take these two pieces off. The reason I decided to make a small card for the video is because obviously it's more fiddly making the smaller card, the butterfly smaller, etc, etc. Anyway, I'm using my grid paper now. I'm lining up this so that that dark line is halfway. Right, I didn't, although I tried cutting there, I didn't actually go right the way through. So let me just pop that there to hold that in place, make sure it's straight. You see, it's so much easier not having all that sticky all over the place. So what I'm needing to do now is for the bottom piece, oops, I'm taking towards the end. I don't want to put the end down here, and I'll show you why. Let's just pop that on there. Okay. I know it's on the end at the moment. I've just said I don't want to do that, but bear with me. And then this one is coming up here. Now pull this one tight. Okay, you can see how easy it is at the moment. I'm not getting myself all stuck up. So now I'm going to take a piece of double-sided tape and I am going to adhere it over that crystal string. Okay. Now this little bit can be a bit of a challenge. You need to get, in fact, let me cut that bit off now. I'm going to leave a little piece on here. Okay, I will need to trim that off, but I don't want to lose the beads that I've already got threaded up on that. So that one's, I've now got to get this backing off, which isn't the easiest thing to do when you're getting, when your double-sided tape is actually stuck onto double-sided adhesive sheets. I'm going to do the same down here. I'm going to do this somewhere in the middle here. Now this was a great tip from Jennifer with her video. is by putting this double-sided tape over, what you can do, let's just put that back down again. It's very useful to have that. If you take your string or thread, whatever it is you're using, fold it back over on that double-sided. In fact, because I've got mine so far down, I'm going to put another piece on there. If you fold it back so that it sticks onto the double-sided tape, then you're effectively hooking your string back over that, and it will stop the string coming out on your card. I really would not use these beads for a child's card though, really. There we go. Right. Now I'm going to pull that back. I'm going to stick it onto that one, stick it onto that one. There's a little bit left. In fact, I might as well curl it around, mightn't I, so it goes on there as well. There we go. That's good. So what I'm going to do now is just pull this one through nice and tight before I bend it back over. Okay, that's really nice and tight. Bend it back over, and that should keep it. In fact, just a little bit in the way there. Let's put it on there and cut that end off. There we go. So now the butterfly should not move. Let me just show you. Okay. That's working beautifully. I'm very pleased with that. Okay, sorry, it's not the butterfly won't move. I mean to say the string won't loosen. And let's tidy this a little bit up. Now, the next thing that I do is I take all these pieces off, but I don't go straight to put it onto my card front. I like to have that little bit of wiggle room that Tombow gives me. In fact, leave that one on there for a moment. So what I do is I put Tombow all over the sticky bit. And I move quite quickly so that it doesn't dry before I've got it all done. But if you put Tombow all over here, you feel the nozzle getting a bit stuck, but persevere with it. It's well worth the effort. You don't have to be absolutely solid with Tombow, but just cover up the main part so it's not getting to the card front before your before the self-adhesive foam sheets are. If you've got our foam strips, which are designed for shaker cards, you could use those, but obviously that you're going to need like a couple here, a couple there, and I don't know how many you would need on that one. Right, let's hold this here. Hope it does. Yes, you're going to keep turning, aren't you? No, stay still. It moves every time the nozzle gets stuck on the adhesive here. As you can see, this string is so well anchored down, it really shouldn't loosen. There we go. So I'm going to use my tweezers, move that up a bit. Now when you put this down, make sure your butterfly stays facing front. Okay, once that's down there, you've got a little bit of wiggle room thanks to the Tombow on there. Okay, I think that could go up a bit. Yes, yes, straight, I think so. Maybe go over a little bit. That's it, not too much. There we go. Yep, that's not good. I'm happy with that. Okay, so that, and that. And I have to say that butterfly moves better than the others. So there we go, that's that. Now my sentiment. Now, because this is already raised up, you might want to do that so that it's flat. I'm going to pop mine up. Now, this is my bag of my offcuts. So I think, have I got a thin bit there as well? Yeah, we got a couple of thin bits here. Right, so what I'm going to do is get my scissors. I'm going to trim this off to the amount that I need, which I think is just... Oh, I meant to show you how I cut this. I will backtrack on this a bit. Let's use one of these. As this is a lot smaller, I don't worry about... Oh, that's too fat. I don't worry about putting Tombow on this one. There we go. Just make sure I'm not going to put my tweezers on a sticky bit, otherwise I'll never be able to retrieve them. Right, I'm just looking for this to be centered and straight. Come down a little bit. That looks about right. Does that look right? I think so. Okay, so there we go. So I'm pleased with that. Let's save these little scrappy bits. I'll tidy those up afterwards. I didn't bring over any gems, did I? Yes, I did. I'm not quite sure what gems I want to use. I've got absolutely masses of them now. What colour have I got? This is... Of course, I've got my butterflies. I like those. I don't know what to use. I've got so many. What colour have I got there? Orange. I wonder if that would work. These are so pretty. Look at the flowers. I tried these last time, didn't I? Didn't I? In my last video, I think. No, don't put it on there. I've tried that one before. That doesn't work. Yeah, let's have them up here. Now, do I want all big ones or do I want small ones as well? Let's have some small ones. And that's it. And another small one here. There we go. That looks nice. Do I want these as well? No, I don't think so. I'll stick to just my flowers. Okay, so that is today's card, but let me just show you how I go about measuring to cut this. Now imagine this is the back of your card, okay, and this is what you want to put your foam on. So what I did was I put my piece of foam on here and decided where I needed this to go, and I scratched it with my paper piercer. Then I measured that, and then I did the same difference down this end. Okay, just imagine I'm measuring that properly, because that and that I did as 3/8 of an inch. So I could actually do that, couldn't I? Where's 3/8? It's a bit short on that. And 3/8. Oh, that is about 3/8. Okay, in fact I can use this, can't I? So that's 3/8, and then I just brought my paper piercer down, and can you see where I've scratched the line? And then I just cut along how much I want, and then I can shorten it accordingly. And I do that for all of these pieces here. Like if I was doing this one, I would measure, in fact that looks about the right size. Say I needed to cut off a little bit, okay, and then I would look down the side here, measure how much I need to cut off there. So then I would do a line. I would measure this properly, but at the moment I'm just using my grid paper. So I'd measure that, and then I would measure that little bit in, but I wouldn't go the right way down because I've already measured my 3/8 of an inch there. Okay, so then I would need to cut along there and along there. See if you can see my lines. Yeah, you can see the one going across the top there, and then you can see the two going down there. The one on the right hand side is for the 3/8 of an inch strip, which would do either any of these sides, and this one would be big enough to do that. Okay, so I hope you find that bit helpful as well. I think I've remembered to tell you all the bits and pieces that I was going to show you how I did that as well. Don't know how time is going. Very quickly, if I can find my I can't find my butterfly. I did have one here so that I could show you. No, that's not it. Oh, there we go. What I do is I take a scrap of cardstock, and I saw it a minute ago, which is what reminded me to tell you about it. Oh, here it is, up here. I choose the colours I think are going to be good for my butterfly, and then out of these I pick 3, and it's these 3 that I used, and that turned out to be, this is dark Cajun Craze, and then it's light Cajun Craze, and then light Calypso Coral, and I just do one bit, one bit, one bit, getting lighter as it goes into the centre. And then once I've painted both sides, because butterflies, their colours are symmetrical, and then I go back with the lighter colour and I blend them all in. I think I showed this on a video quite recently. I'll go back and check, and if I find it, I'll put a note underneath the video to let you know which video to go back and check, so that you can see exactly how I did it. Okay, so there we go. That's today's project. I hope you learned by my mistakes that, you know, that was absolutely lost in that one. Lovely colours and all of that, but a rectangle was not right. That one, you can decide whether you like patterned in the middle and a plainer outside. That's hubby's favourite one, that one. But he likes this too. Okay, so plenty of options. I just hope that by all the ones I do, it helps you to decide what you like, so you can go ahead and design your card without any wasting. Okay, so many thanks for joining me today. All the measurements in inches and metric for A4 cardstock users, inches for letter size cardstock users for the smaller card will be in the box below, and also the inches and metric for the 7x5 card will also be in the box below. And please remember, I don't recommend that you use beads for children's cards. Okay. I would also put a link for all the products that I've used to make this card, and I will put details of these cards in my blog the same day that this video goes live, which will be tomorrow, which will actually be the 29th of May 2022. So if you want to know any of these ingredients, they'll be in the blog. Okay, if you've enjoyed my video and would like to be notified each time I upload a new one, please subscribe on the button down there in the bottom right hand corner, or my picture which appears up here somewhere, and then click on the bell so that you get notifications. So many thanks for joining me today. I look forward to being with you next time. In the meantime, please take care, stay safe, and happy crafting. Cheerio.